Everybody, and welcome to the Circles and Squares News Report for Monday, August 15th, 2022, part of the Circles and Squares podcast experience. I'm James, and that's Katie, and welcome to the show, everybody. Kate, welcome. How are you?
Good. I'm real good. You know, living my best summer life right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
hot. Things are good.
Good. I would like to inform everybody that I took my Switch outside to the park the other day, just as
Oh,
I
oh, you're just like the people in the commercials.
I was gonna say, just how God intended it. I took my Switch outside and I
Mhm.
played some Live Alive, and I am now 4 chapters down. So basically reached the halfway point on Live Alive, and so far I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like Black Mirror, but for like really bite-sized little RPGs. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to see
That's,
like how any of it links together at the end.
that is impressive. And that's like the kind of game that's good for that sort of thing. But I will challenge you. You think the park is good? Have you ever taken it on a rooftop? Because that's always what the commercials are, right? It was like some party on a rooftop, and
Oh
like
yeah.
there was that one dude that put their Switch.
Yeah, and he's
I
like sitting
like,
in a hot tub with a beer in one hand and his Switch in the other.
right?
He's playing with a
Honestly,
single
those
Joy-Con,
are
of course, because he's got his Switch like with the little kickstand on the side of the hot tub.
yeah, that's right on a little like table.
Yeah, no, right on the edge of the hot tub. You gotta take it to the party and you gotta live it up. No,
You
I've
gotta
not
live.
done that. I've not done that. But you know what? I don't go to a lot of rooftop parties. I'm just gonna admit that
Mm,
freely. And so if I ever get invited
not
to one, especially like the taller the building, I'll definitely have to prioritize bringing the Switch.
right.
Maybe
You don't
save
bring
that
your
last
Switch.
Live Alive chapter.
Yeah, you don't bring your Switch to like a 5-story roof party. Like, come on, that's small. You need at least like 10 stories to get to go.
Well, I mean, I was just associating like taller stories with a fancier party. So like the fancier it
Mm,
is, the more I want to bring my Switch, basically.
right, of course, of
That's what I
course.
was thinking. All right, well, this is not a show about my Switch playing habits. This is actually a news show, so we'll get right into the news. Of course, we start off with the PlayStation news of the last couple of weeks, followed by news from around the games industry, and then we'll finish it off with just something that's pretty damn cool this week. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's it's just something a little off topic that's kind of cool. So we'll finish the show off with that later on. So let's get right into our biggest story of the day. And this is just one that's, I don't even know how to feel about this. So I'm reading this from Pure Xbox, but it was a report, I think actually that came somewhat surprisingly from the Brazil Administrative Council for Economic Defense. I guess this is part of like some litigation stuff going on with Activision being bought by Xbox and just having to go through all of like the economical side of like a multi-billion-dollar purchase or $1 million purchase. And so for some reason, like this is all leaked from Brazil's council meeting with Sony, I guess, and Xbox about the acquisition. And essentially, this is it's kind of come out during this that there's accusations that Sony actually pays companies to keep their games off of Game Pass. And so it's an interesting thing to get brought up. And with so many things like coming to Game Pass these days, and it's just like you recently, this is an interesting thing for you to think about since you just recently got Game Pass and are sort of getting involved in that whole thing now. Like, what do you feel about this? Do you think Sony's actually doing something like this? Like, where's your first initial thoughts?
I mean, I'm full in the Game Pass life, right? My bias is out the window. Like, don't prevent things from being on Game Pass. I've paid like 3 years of it already.
Right.
Like, I'm committed. But I mean, this is crazy. Like, it's pretty like meager in terms of details. So like, it's hard to tell if like this actually is happening or if it's just kind of a fluff allegation. But like, it's a little bit of a slimy move, right? To pay someone to, especially when they have their own service. Like, you think maybe you'd pay them to like also put it on your like streaming platform versus paying them to not have it on Xbox. Just seems a little slimy.
Yeah, it's that's a good way to put it actually. Just because like, why would you not want to share the wealth and sort of pay extra to have it on your service also instead of doing the takeaway method? It is interesting. I don't know. Like I've kind of been thinking about this, and I'm wondering, like, yeah, if it is being a bit overblown, because I'm thinking of things like Sony's paid for a lot of games to have timed exclusivity on their platform in the past. Like I'm even thinking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was announced as a timed exclusive for PlayStation, still hasn't come out on Xbox. Like there's obviously a deal there that will expire at some point, and then that game will come to Xbox. And I'm just thinking, like, this is this really that different than some things that Sony that have happened the other way around too. And so I don't know, like it just seems to me like Sony, if this is true, is like, oh my god, Game Pass, like that's a really good service. They're trying to catch up now with what they're making, but I don't know, like it just seems like, yeah, this is a really evil thing to do if it actually ends up being the case.
And it's like, this is just like the shitty business side of it, because it's like, okay, I don't see why that would be like, like illegal or they couldn't do it, but it just seems sort of shitty. And like, timed exclusives are one thing, right? Because it's like, okay, sure, it sucks for the people who just have an Xbox and they want to play like Kenna or like whatever stuff like is timed exclusive. But like eventually you'll get it, so that feels a bit better. But just to be like, no, you can't play with this toy. Like only we're gonna play with it is kind of shitty. But then again, I mean, they're buying up all these studios and like kind of going down that path like on both sides. So I think it's just it's just an unfortunate reality of how the industry is going.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think too, it's like, isn't it kind of an admission on Sony's part of like, yeah, we know our service isn't as good as Game Pass because we have to prevent Game Pass from getting even better while we catch up. Like they're sort of admitting, if they were really confident in the new services they're putting out, and obviously they still need time to grow. The Game Pass has been going on for multiple years now and has had time to sort of get established, whereas Sony's very new in this whole subscription thing. So maybe they get a bit of a pass, but at the same time, it pass in terms of like quality of their service, but at the same time, like this would be a huge admission of like, oh no, like we're so clearly out of our league here in terms of the subscription service, which
It's
yeah.
possible, but it's also possible, like, there's no timeline on this. It's possible too, like, this was from, like, a year and a half ago, like, before Sony had their version, and so it was less like, "Oh, ours is crappier in comparison," versus like, "Oh god, Game Pass is steamrolling everything,"
Hmm.
and like, "Uh-oh, we want it to slow down."
Yeah,
Um,
that's true, that's true.
so
What One of the
I don't
things,
know.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, I was just gonna say I always take these things with a grain of salt because, like, like journalism is like an industry in and of itself as well, right? So unless there's like very clear confirmation that something's true, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, all right, clickbaity, exciting for a week, and then are we ever gonna hear about it again? Maybe, maybe not. So
Sure. I think that's one of the things, like I don't think we ever really will know the exact truth about this, just because like why would you ever put out any kind of press statement about this? They would just deny it. No, of course we don't do that. And that's kind of it, right? Um this article also talks, one last point is about Call of Duty and the whole, will Call of Duty become, there's a linked article, I should say, that kind of attaches to this one, about like Call of Duty being so influential in terms of console sales, and a huge reason why PlayStation's been on top for so many years, on top of like, their own games they've been making, is that Call of Duty has been mostly marketed alongside the PlayStation since, I think they said 2015, with one of the Black Ops games. And so now that Activision is going to obviously the Xbox side of things, like there's been that whole debate, will Call of Duty stay um, multi-platform or not? And it looks like that is the case, that it will stay multi-platform, just because of some comments by Xbox saying, it's so lucrative, it's such a big money maker, like why would you not want to have it on everywhere it's available? So at least Sony won't have to try and pay their way out of keeping Call of Duty on the PlayStation, for those that care about that. Interesting stuff though. Well, I'm definitely interested to see if there's like more evidence that comes out of Sony doing this, just because that is like the kind of thing where you don't have a good feeling if they were to be doing that for a lot of games. So let's talk about games that are downloaded on the PlayStation. Of course, some of these may be games that have been blocked from Game Pass. Well, we may never know. But our second story here, we always like to go over some of the top downloads. So we've got the July 2022 top downloads from the PlayStation Store. I'm just going to go over the PS5 games from the US and Canada, so we can, if you're interested in other systems or other places in the world, you have to check the data out with the link from the PlayStation blog. But on the US and Canada ranking list, we have a new number one. Something is taken up. I believe Grand Theft Auto was number one last time
always
we did
number
this,
one.
right? It was near number one. But new number
Always
one,
there.
Kate, we have Stray as the top download for July 2022. I wonder now how much of this is helped by Stray being on the PlayStation Extra subscription service, because obviously like a lot of people who have that subscription would get Stray quote unquote for free from the service. But great to see Stray at number one. Grand Theft Auto, of course, stays at two. and we have a lot of the usual suspects, NBA and all this stuff. But Elden Ring still at number 8. Kate, top 10. You can relax. Uh,
Yep.
we're all good hanging in
One
there.
more month.
Exactly, exactly.
Yep.
But anything stand out to you? You got any game you're surprised to still see in,
Um,
or?
I mean, I'm stoked for Stray. I think that game looks great, and I'm excited to pick it up at some point. So I'm glad that it's getting a lot of attention. The Quarry is number 5, which is kind of cool. Just those like interactive games, I find like I just think they're just kind of niche and not tons of people play them. So it's cool to see the Quarry up at number 5.
I agree with you. I'm really shocked that game is as high as it is. To be honest with you, like, it's a niche genre, and it's also the kind of thing where it's like it's just a smaller release. Like, it doesn't have the kind of marketing that a lot of these other games have. Like, it's the middle of baseball season right now, and it's beating out MLB The Show, which is by all accounts like a game that sells really well every year. It's beating out Call of Duty. It's just way higher than I thought it would be. That's a good point. For me, the one I'm interested that it's even on the list is Far Cry 6, and I know Far Cry's been it's been a big franchise that people know for a long time. But have you heard anything at all about Far Cry 6 ever since that we saw those commercials with Giancarlo Esposito in them? Because I don't
I was
remember
just gonna
anything.
ask, is that the one with the Breaking Bad actor?
It
That
is,
is
yeah,
all I know about
yeah.
Far Cry 6.
So, but you remember, like, they did so much marketing around that leading up to it, and he was like
There's
so
so much.
clearly shown, like, oh, Giancarlo's all over this game, and I haven't heard a word about it since it came out.
I'll be honest, I've heard so little about this game that I didn't even know it was out. Like, I did not even know it got released.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
And, sorry, Far Cry. They're hard to keep track of at this point. Like, Far Cry to me is like just an amorphous blob, like kind of like a Call of Duty or an Assassin's Creed sort of franchise now, where like I'm sure some of them are good. Like I know people really like, especially a few standout games, and they're probably fun. But like it's just like it's like one of those I was at a festival yesterday, and there was like one of those jars, and it was like how many balls are inside this jar, and you have to guess. And that's like Far Cry. It's like how many Far Cry games are on this console? Like I don't know, maybe 32.
I know what you mean. Yeah, for me, Far Cry has been a series that I never know what's going on with it unless it is like, there's always the big trailer at one of the events that happens throughout the year,
Mhm.
and then the only other time you see it is like when you actually go, once every few months to like an EB Games, and you see the big cardboard standee of like a military guy with a
Mhm.
parachute and a gun, and like maybe there's
Yeah.
like something else going on, and it just says Far Cry, and the marketing's always really
Or,
cool.
yeah, or there's some dictator.
There's a
Like
dictator,
either
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but that's pretty much all I know. Yeah. Well, anyways, interesting list. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart hangs on at number 19 as well. Love to see that.
Mhm.
Um, that game deserves to be always eternally on this top 20 list, I would say.
I don't know. 20 is not a big list. There are a lot of good
No,
games.
it's not. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, so next story here. Now this is moving away from PlayStation just towards games in general. And you brought up Breaking Bad with one Giancarlo Esposito just a couple minutes ago. And so this is an interesting story that came across a couple days ago over from Kotaku. Basically suggesting that Vince Gilligan is the creator of the Breaking Bad universe, and so the main guy with that series. And apparently, he at one time wanted to make a Breaking Bad game, sort of like a GTA clone based on the TV show. And so now I don't remember. Have you seen Breaking Bad at all? Like, do you think this would be a good
I
match, or like, what do you
I
feel
have
about
seen
this?
it. I have seen it all the way through. I think it's kind of funny because it makes sense. I think you could put the Breaking Bad trappings on a lot of the GTA gameplay and it would work. But it's also kind of ironic in the terms of like it's so like what people would get up to in the shenanigans in the game is so anti what Breaking Bad is actually about. Like not about romanticizing or like having fun being a drug lord and building an empire. It's 100% about like how fucked up that is and what that does to like a person and their family and their community. And so there's just something kind of ironic about the idea of like making that style of a game fit Breaking Bad. But It would probably be fun.
I know what you mean, yeah. And Breaking Bad to me too, like that whole series is so much, for as much as it's about like the plot twists and the wacky kind of like
Mhm.
unpredictable like things that happen in the show, so much of it is about those quiet moments where the camera lingers on like a certain shot, or like you
Mhm.
follow someone through their morning routine and you like watch them brush their teeth and it for some reason
Mhm.
creates tension, or they have those small exchanges that happen and someone says something offhand. And I think those are the things really about Breaking Bad that make it so special and so successful. And I don't think those would translate that well into a game like this, because it's not really possible to have all those little interactions the same way. And instead, it's so much more like action focused, or at least that's what the players
Mhm.
would make it, right? You're not going to
Yeah.
meticulously brush your teeth for 15 minutes in like a simulation game and have some weird offhanded conversation with a guy in an alley about like blue crystal meth or something, you know? Like it's just not quite the same setup. But
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean too, right? Like Breaking Bad is about the characters and it's about like a deconstruction of like that kind of lifestyle and like how dangerous and like like the fallout of that kind of thing. And GTA is like I know GTA kind of has that kind of commentary in its main story, but like a lot of how like the sandboxy elements are really just like stick around and do funny stuff and like it's so bizarre of a pairing.
it is.
But I
It is.
mean, you Badger could show up, so like there's a plus there.
It's true. I,
Remember Badger
oh my god, how could I forget Badger and Combo and like all these guys? Skinny Pete.
combo? Yeah, Skinny Pete and like Tuco was genuinely like a fantastic villain.
Well,
Like
I mean,
that
if
guy, so much energy into the role. Have you seen Tuco with Thanos?
I have, and
Season-
I'll just tell you now, if you
yeah,
watch Better Call Saul, Kate, you might get to see Tuco make an appearance in
I
some of the
know.
seasons of that show. Like it might be worth
I
watching, I
watched
should
a
say.
little bit of it, and I really need to get back to it. I think I watched the first season, and it's so fucking good. But I'm bad at watching TV, so I have to really get back on it.
Yeah, I'm terrible at watching TV, but I'll tell you what, I'm all caught up, and the Better Call Saul season finale is out. Folks, if you're listening to this podcast on the Monday when it comes out, the finale is tonight. It's tonight, Monday night, everybody. Look forward to it.
Like, is it the
It's
final
the
season of the
the
whole show?
series finale. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I love Saul. Saul Goodman is like got to be one of the best TV show characters of all time.
Oh yeah,
And
and
Mike is in it. Mike is even better of a character.
oh man, yeah, you got to watch Better Call Saul. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
One
Okay.
getting back to the story though, I think that GTA should do like a DLC, like a free update where like Jesse Pinkman and Walter White come into
Mm,
like, couldn't you imagine like some kind of DLC setup where like Saul's office goes in there, and then in like GTA, and then you have to go in there and he's giving you like missions and you got to complete them with Walter and Jesse as like your side characters. Like that would be
mhm.
really really
That'll
cool.
be
I might
cool.
even play GTA for a week to
That
complete
yeah,
those.
that might do it.
All right, let's talk about our next story. And this is actually, there was a somewhat of a video game showcase that happened over the last, I believe it was on the 12th, so a couple days ago. But there was a THQ Nordic digital showcase. And of course, THQ Nordic is just that big publishing giant that has acquired seemingly hundreds of different IPs and doesn't release that many games. So it was pretty cool to see them show some games off. And there was actually quite a few things shown in this showcase, even though like half of them were sort of military strategy games of different levels of like colonial takeover, which I don't know if I really love that type of stuff. But yeah, like maybe we'll just pick out a couple of favorites. So what stuck out to you the most, Kate?
So I through and I watched all these, and I'll be honest, there was only one game that really stood out to me that I think I'd play, and it is the first game on the list, and that's the Alone in the Dark, like a new Alone in the Dark game.
Yeah.
And it's being made by the writer of Amnesia is in here and like some Soma devs and like it just looks so creepy and so good and it's got that like southern gothic horror and there's something about that like that kind of style like Biohazard too, like it's just those creepy southern families like they're the scariest thing known to man aside from maybe like weird dolls.
Well, there's dolls in this trailer. Don't isn't this the one
Yeah,
where the dolls are like getting hung by the like a noose from the roof, and then the
I
little
think
girls
that was
like, or is that a
yeah,
different
there's like
one?
a girl. There is like someone that gets noosed up, but I think it's like a real lady.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes,
So,
yes, yes. This
but
is the
like
one where
yeah,
there's like a body or something in a body bag, and it does like a sit up on a deathbed, right?
Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a
Now I'm
couple horror
questioning
games
it.
in here, but
There's a couple where oh, you're right. Yeah, this one definitely is hanging dolls, and someone hangs themselves by the dolls, and then it's kind of got like almost like a Resident Evil style like monsters that you seem to get a gun to shoot, and it just looks like like a high quality horror game, which they're not always of the highest quality. So to get a new good one looks good.
yeah, we got a lot of horror games the last little bit, I feel like, in terms of announcement,
A
like
lot
Callisto Protocol and
announced,
all those. Yeah.
yeah, a lot announced, but none have yet to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, number one for me from this showcase is I think it's going to be Rec Nation or
Yeah.
Recreation, I guess it's called,
Mhm.
which I think just looks really cool. And I don't know if I'm just into this right now because of a couple episodes ago, I remember we were talking about like a game we'd love to see come back or games we want to see return or something like that. And I said Mod Nation Racers because I think it was really held back by like the hardware at the time with having to load like all the custom stuff in. And this looks sort of like that. And like people will know, like I'm a big Burnout fan. Never really played a lot of Need for Speed, but if I could get some type of Burnout game that sort of has those Mod Nation Racer elements, like building custom tracks. Like I don't like to build the tracks, but having infinite tracks that other people build, that's a really cool thing. And this trailer seemed to indicate like you could sort of edit the track as it's being raced on. Like I don't know if you watch the whole thing, but there's sort of this one instance where someone puts a ramp down just past like the finish line of a course, like as someone's still racing on it. And I just thought, well, that's pretty interesting if you could potentially have races and like someone is adding to the course as you're going. Like that sounds really hectic and very fun.
Mhm. Yeah, that does sound fun. That sounds like the kind of game where like I want it for a weekend. Like I wish video game rentals were still a thing because I want to rent that and have like a blast one weekend and then not play it again.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Anything else for you?
I'll be honest, the rest of this trailer, like you said, there's a lot of like kind of like army strategy game, like military strategy games. There's like a few like space exploration things,
Hmm.
and it's just not really my like. There's a SpongeBob game, and like I
Yeah,
guess if you like SpongeBob, that's exciting.
I was gonna bring that up. I'm
So
shocked to see another SpongeBob game. I guess that remaster they did of that GameCube game, what is it, Rehydrated or whatever? Like, that must have done really well for
Mhm.
them to have this come up so quickly.
Yeah, it's like a 3D platformer, I think, and like
Yeah.
SpongeBob 2 recently was like they made that fighting game where he's in as well. Like there's just a lot of I'm just always shocked that SpongeBob is still relevant. Like isn't the show even still being made? I don't know.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm surprised, Kate, that you weren't all about Way of the Hunter, the hunting game at the end. I was looking at that trailer and I was like, man, this is a Kate game if I've ever seen one. I could imagine Kate getting out there, pulling that rifle on those oxes or whatever you find, and
Well, you know me, I'm all about this shooting defenseless animals. um, I will say though, I went to like an arcade recently, and we played like that big like game
oh, the
hunter
Capella
thing.
Gabella's big game hunting.
Yeah, like whatever it was, and we're like, oh, just for fun, like we tried all the games we care about, and we got some tickets left. Like we'll do this game hunter, and I don't know what it was about it, but I was so fucking good at that game, like for no discernible reason. Like I don't know, maybe I put my like duck hunt hours in as a kid or what, but I was so like unbelievably good. So maybe if there's a pro scene for Way of the Hunter, I could get into it.
That's
But
amazing.
otherwise, watching the trailer just kind of made me think I need to finish Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'd just much rather play Red Dead
Yeah,
than
yeah. I mean, to that game's credit, it did have pretty nice environments. I wonder if it's
yeah.
I wonder if it's
It,
gonna, I don't know, lead to a cool environment for a game that's not about hunting from another studio in the future. Who knows? In seriousness though, the only other game I really wanted to bring up, and I'm surprised you didn't kind of get caught by it, was that game Gothic, the remake.
yeah,
I thought it looked pretty cool. It's kind of like I don't want to say Souls, but it's like a dark kind of creepy type of setting. I thought maybe it would have done something. I was a little interested in it, even though I'm really not familiar with Gothic. I've never heard of that game before.
yeah. I think the problem with this one for me is it was just a teaser trailer, so there was no gameplay or really like tons to latch on to. Like it looked really nice, and the mines just kept getting bigger and bigger, and like it's probably really exciting if you had played Gothic before, but I've never heard of it. And I think it's just one of those things where, like, being a teaser trailer, nothing stood out about it aside from like there's like 30 other medieval fantasy games that I've seen trailers for and have my eye on, and like, maybe in like 3 years when they're ready for the gameplay trailer, I might get into it.
Right. Yeah. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, yeah, check out that showcase. Like I said, it's actually reasonably like jam packed full of stuff. So, especially if
Mhm.
you're into strategy games, give that one a look. But for now, let's move on to our last main story of the show, which is that, man, there's been a lot of video game delays recently, and so let's just like, instead of taking any single one of them as a news story, it's not the most exciting thing to think about, but just for fun. I have a list here from Digital Trends of every video game delay that's happened in 2022. You guys ready? Let me get a drink of water. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, go make a cup of tea real quick.
All right, here we go. This is a list of every game so far that's been delayed this year: King Arthur, A Knight's Tale, Evil Dead the Game, Roller Champions, Starship Troopers, Terran Command, Red Out 2, never heard of that, MX vs. ATV Legends, Endling Extinction is Forever, Dying Light 2, Stay Human Cloud version, Two Point Campus, Rumbleverse, Immortality, Sons of the Forest, Warhammer 40k Darktide, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt PS5 and Xbox Series X version, Life is Strange Remastered Collection for Nintendo Switch, Forspoken, Season A Letter to the Future, Kerbal Space Program 2, Chia. Oh, I remember Chia. That game looked good.
Yeah, it looked good.
Damn. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, The Day Before, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, EA Sports PGA Tour, sequel to the Breath of the Wild sequel. Was that ever really announced for this year? I guess it
I think it was
was.
like a vague, like hopefully 2022 that nobody believed.
Right. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
that's been delayed. Blazing Strike, Redfall, Starfield, Homeworld 3, Test Drive Unlimited, Replaced, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Arc 2, The Invincible, Stalker 2, the Sea of Stars. Now that's a sad one, Kate. That's the one. That's
Yeah.
the sequel to what's the game? The Messenger. I was really looking forward to that. Okay, here we go. More Star Wars Hunters, Arc Raiders, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, The Settlers, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, Exo Mecha, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake, Toy Soldiers HD for Nintendo Switch, Lord of the Rings Gollum, Hill Agency, and as of yesterday, not on this list, Hogwarts Legacy, which is the main
Right.
reason we were talking about. We were going to talk about that delay as a news story here, and then thought, you know what, like, fuck it, why the hell not just read this entire list? And so there you go, folks. Kate, I need some more water, so I'll turn it over to you. Like, what the heck is going on? And I guess another follow-up question: with all these delays, obviously we're missing out on a lot of games this year that were supposed to be coming out, mainly like Midnight Suns. I know we were excited for. We still have Ragnarok, of course, but what other games this year that are actually coming out are you most looking forward to, and do you hope that are not part of this delay train? Oh, another one that wasn't on that list. What's the one I'm looking forward to? Metal Slug Tactics. RIP.
Oh, Metal Slug. Yeah, Metal Slug Tactics. Jeez, I mean, that's a lot. That seems like a lot, especially when you consider that those are just the ones that like said that had release dates. Not all the games that like they just never specified the time and like maybe could have come out in 2022 and then we're like, oh shit, we're not even close, and like pushed it back more. So like it seems like a lot. But then I wonder, like, is it more or less than last year? Because last year was just like delay central as well.
It
And
seems like
like,
it's the same pattern, the stuff from the back half of the year getting delayed into the spring. It's happening again.
hmm yeah, which kind of sucks. But I don't know. There's still a lot of stuff to look forward to, and it's a tough question because a lot of things I'm looking forward to are like not even release date.
Right.
Like we talked about it on the last show. I'm really excited for the new Plague Tale, which does have a release date. It's coming out, I think, next month.
It's the 10th of
Which
next
is
month. It's like you're less than a
the
month
next
away.
month. Less than a month away. I'm super stoked. Like that's gonna be a day one play for me. The other game I'm really excited about that doesn't have a date yet, but is still said to be 2022, so they better like get into gear soon. Is Metal Hellsinger? Like we
Yes.
played the demo for that. It came out recently. That's the like rhythm shooter with the amazing metal soundtrack, which sounds like so fucking good. I want to play it. But like a lot of other stuff, it's like I don't know if it's ever gonna come out.
Well, obviously you've
Like
got Team Cherry's little game
yeah,
there, which we don't
Team
have a
Cherry.
date for.
For I mean, Alan Wake 2 is another one I'm really looking forward to. And the new Dead Space remake, I think was supposed to come out sometime this year, so we'll
Oh,
see.
was it? I thought that was next
The
year.
other game,
Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah, maybe it's next year. Yeah. The other game I thought about that I'm curious to see if you remember was Steel Rising. It was in like one
Hmm.
or two small presentations for like E3 like 2 years ago, but it's that really cool like steampunky looking action game, and it recently got like a 5 minute like gameplay trailer, and like I didn't see it basically anywhere. Like it was so undermarketed, but this big gameplay trailer came out from IGN and it genuinely looks like pretty freaking cool.
Oh, you know
It's
what?
like
Now that I Google it,
walker kind of people and
yes,
like yeah, it's like steampunky kind of action RPG kind of game and it
I
just looks
remember
like
this.
yeah, it looks so good.
Right, the girl with like the porcelain doll face, nearly, I guess, but they're like
Mhm.
androids or mechs. Yeah, that did look cool. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Good pick. Very niche.
Hmm.
I like it. I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
for me, like, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, this is just another, like, you're right. This is a repeat of last year with, like, the back half of the year delays. And, it just is what it is. But for me, what am I looking forward to? Well, I mean, Ragnarok, obviously. I mentioned the
Mhm.
Insomniac games as well as, like, two that are really there for me. But I don't think they're supposed to be out this year. Or maybe Spider-Man 2 was supposed to be. I don't remember now. But Splatoon 3 comes out in September on the 9th, and so that's one I've got my eye on it. I'm really not sure if I'm going to grab it. If it's more of the same, I feel like I'm not, just because I found the single player was so weak in Splatoon 2. And if the online's only good for so long while your friends still want to play all the time, and like it has
Mhm.
the community and whatnot. But I like to have a good single player as well in a game like Splatoon, because if I take my Switch somewhere, I don't like to play online, like, or you might not have the best internet or
Yeah.
something like that.
And especially because there is no couch co-op in that game. Like I think that
Hmm.
is like that's what 3 needs. Like that is exactly the kind of game like you'd have some friends over and like you obviously can play it a little bit more competitively, but it's also like a Mario Party kind of game, right? Where it's just like a fun party game to sit around and hang out
Exactly,
with.
yeah. Exactly. I don't know if it's supposed to have couch co-op. I should probably look into it, but I don't know. I'm just like literally I blocked Splatoon 3 from my mind. I'm like I'm going to wait and see what the reviews say and like what everyone's saying
Yeah.
about it, and then I'll just not get my hopes up and forget about it until then, right? But yeah, like we were joking around though, like a lot of the games specifically getting delayed are like the games I've been looking forward to.
Yeah.
Like it was Metal Slug Tactics, it was Forspoken, it was oh, what was that other
Midnight
one?
Suns is a
Midnight
huge one.
Suns. Yeah, and then there
Yeah.
was one other one too that was just on that list. And I forget now, but anyway, it's like, yeah, it's all my games, which is kind of depressing. I'm just going through a list now of like everything coming out this year still. Oh, it was Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars, yeah.
I am excited for Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope in October. Although since it's a Ubisoft game, it'll go on sale for like $20 within 6 months, and so I'll probably wait and pick that
Mhm.
one up on a deal. Seems to make a lot of sense to do it that way. And then I'm always holding out hope, Kate, for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in November. I mean, just gotta wait and see what those end up being like. November, yeah,
Jesus, it's so soon.
yeah,
See that they did what Splatoon couldn't, and they're like, "We have co-op." It's like, "Oh shit!" Like that
yeah.
might be the thing. Like
Ha-
you know how jaded I am on that series. I'm like, I'll never buy a Pokemon game again. But it's like, oh, I could play with my friends. Like, damn it, I can ride those stupid bikes with them. Like, damn
Yeah,
it,
damn.
maybe.
How should Splatoon feel if Pokemon lands co-op gameplay better than a game like Splatoon, which is literally built around multiplayer?
It's exclusively multiplayer.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, the first one was exclusively multiplayer. I don't think it had any single player. And so like, and it's like a newer franchise, like Pokemon is one of those like the slowest, like you say, the slowest moving franchises on the planet. And imagine if they get co-op before
right.
Splatoon on the
Po-
couch.
Pokemon is Pokemon is a slugma, you could say. They're moving at a meg cargo's pace,
Yeah,
and you
more like
get
a
here
slack
later.
off or something like that. You could say.
I guess to be fair, it's not couch co-op. Like your buddies need to have a copy of the game, and like it's hard to say like what the extent of the co-op is. Like, can you actually play the whole game together? Can you
Right.
just like get together in these small areas to like, run around for an hour and then not make progress on your own game? So it's hard to say, but potentially co-op. You can do anything in any order. They've got like a pepper crocodile and
Yeah,
like,
Fui Coco.
ooh, Louis Coco.
I
Like they're
think.
really, yeah, that's him. Like they're really trying to play on my like Stockholm syndrome here on with this one.
They are. You know what? I will say, like, I am more optimistic about this game than I have been for Pokemon in a while. Just
hmm
because of like how much I really did enjoy Arceus and like the applying some of those principles to more of a traditional Pokemon game where the world has a bit more to do in it instead of just going to those like those environments. Like, there's like 4 different environments in Arceus you can go around, but it's not like a true world where you can run around and really be open. And so if they're able to like kind of mix those two styles together, like that does lead me to be optimistic. But then at the same time, I just don't know how much I can trust them to deliver. And so it's
Yeah,
just got to wait and see what it is. But I'm looking forward to
exactly.
it, I'm looking forward to
Exactly.
it.
It was a good trailer, but it's like really gonna wait and see what the final game looks like. Like that
Exactly.
is not like Ragnarok. You're like, I could buy Ragnarok right now and I know I'm gonna love it when it comes out. I would like not buy the new Pokemon game with a gun to my head just because
Oh my
I
god.
think it's gonna be
Right, yeah.
good.
No, I mean, that makes sense. They really got to earn a lot of people's trust back. And obviously a
hmm
game like Ragnarok, I mean, people will blindly, like, I don't know, they could tell me that I should jump off a cliff and I probably would, like I would do anything to play Ragnarok. It just
Right?
that's the way it
Ragnarok's
is.
at the bottom of that cliff. I could play it today.
Yeah, all you got to do is get in this lion enclosure for 15 minutes and you'll be fine. You can play Ragnarok afterwards.
Dude, I get to hang out with a lion and play Ragnarok.
Oh man.
Hashtag I live with Neville. It's fine. I'm trained for this.
That's
We
true.
got it.
That's true. You've been training you've been training for a while with that guy. Oh my god. All right. Well, speaking of lions, let's move on to our last news story, which of course was a well-planted segue by me to move on to talk about our lighter side story for this week, which is that there was just a really interesting Unity tech demo running on the PS5, which was posted on Push Square on Thursday of this week, and it is created. Now, you recognize the studio that was kind of credited for this, and I wasn't aware of them, but this is just basically someone's taken the Unity engine and created what is an extremely lifelike recreation of a lion, a big, like, big, think of like big adult male lion with a huge mane and all this, playing with a small lion cub in the desert. And just the way that they move and like their hair in the sand and the environment, it looks really amazing, like similar to when we saw that Unreal Engine demo. You remember where that girl was going through the that sandy terrain?
Yeah.
Like, it's just another one of these super high quality trailers, and it just makes you so excited to see this kind of thing and be like, how long is it till our games actually look like this while we're playing them? Because wow, it's something else.
Yeah, it is incredible. Like we'll link it below and like it's worth watching. Like even if you're not a big game person, like it's just incredible like seeing how far the technology comes. And I'm not exactly sure how it translates to games, right? Because there's a lot of different studios that are credited for this, and one of the big ones I recognize was Weta Digital, and they're like a massive VFX studio. They work on a lot of like big high budget films, like a lot of Marvel stuff, and like the newest Batman they worked on, stuff like that. And so like VFX and games are, I think it's a lot different than doing VFX in movies, right? Like it's a very like I mean I'm not an expert by any sense, but like I think the approach is different because like a movie is a movie, you watch it, right? But a game is interactive, and so like there's so many more variables that, or like so many different variables that change the approach. So I don't know, like because we can do a demo of something that's beautiful, we can make a game of something that's beautiful, but like you look at stuff like the new Forspoken game, if that comes out looking the way like the trailers make it look, like holy fuck, like on one hand I'm excited, on the other hand I don't want to have to buy a new computer. Like mine was so expensive. Like how do you run something like that?
Yeah, no, that's true. And like this was running apparently on a PS5. I'm just reading the article now. It's running on a PS5 at 4K with 30 frames a second. So, I mean, I'm sure PC people could say like you could probably up that quite a bit. You can get the frame rate up and all this stuff. But yeah, I don't like as far as it translating to games. That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I don't know anything about game development, just like you said, and I'm sure it's a very different skill set and like animation style you would do for like these type of things. But at the same time, I think just what's cool about it is like this is a game engine. Like they make games in
Hmm.
this engine. Like this could run. This is running on a PS5, right? Like it's not out of the realm of
Yeah.
possibility that some of these techniques or like this level of design could be put in a game. It just depends if they can, I guess, get it to work in the same way as they do in
Yeah.
film.
I think that's why you see a lot of games, like all the racing games, look so incredibly gorgeous because, like, you're sort of just stuck in a track, and there's only like it's very small in terms of like what you can actually interact with, and like the backgrounds are all like incredible, and the environments are all amazing, but you're not really like you're not going out in the environment and chopping down the trees or like that kind of stuff. And so I think this is kind of similar in that sense of like, oh my god, this is the most amazing cutscene, but now what if you're like what if you're another lion and you've got to like run into these lions and fight them, and now it's like a whole different can
Yeah,
of
yeah.
worms.
No, for sure. I,
But
I think
like,
that's a good point.
yeah,
That's a good point. But then I mean, you look at games like Red Dead Redemption 2, and that game is
that's
beautiful
true.
in its own right, and it's like, wow, you can play that, and um, I think it's just
That's
like
true.
such a
And
slow process to get it to be like
yeah,
realistic and playable as well.
that's true. And Red Dead Redemption is almost 5 years old now, which is outrageous because that's still one of the best looking games ever made. And like that, like yeah, you can do everything. Like all those animals running around, like yeah, you're gonna shoot them, or like if you run over them, your horse might accidentally trample a rat. Like it's horrible. But like and then the trains go by, and it's like, well, did you want to jump on that train? Because you can. And like it's just that game. I don't think like I'll ever forget playing Red Dead Redemption for the first time because like holy shit, you just watch some of those areas that you run past and it is incredibly gorgeous.
Oh, it just makes me excited, like, for the next wave of
Yeah.
like really big
Yeah.
games, you know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah.
Ragnarok gonna look like when we see it? Like, I know we haven't really had like the next big thing from like major studios yet, right? Like, what does GTA
Mhm.
6 look like when that comes out? There was some like news they finally been talking about shutting like just talking about Rockstar now, like they've been talking about shutting down the updates for Red Dead Redemption 2 and like working on GTA 6 full time now and like a bunch of stuff about that. But like Red Dead Redemption 2 is amazing looking. GTA 6, like by the time it comes out in a few years, like that's probably
Mm.
going to be like the new gold standard in terms of that type of open world design and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, very cool, very cool. Um, yeah, well, anyways, I think that's going to close us out for today's show. So, once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. A reminder here at the end of the show that if you have any questions or comments for us, or you'd like us to discuss something else more in depth, answer really any kind of question, or just read your story out online, you can get in touch with us at circlesandsquarespod@gmail.com, or on Twitter with all of our links below. So, they will all be down there for you if you wish to get in touch. One other little piece of news is that, like we reminded everyone, I think the last couple episodes, we are now supportable on Anchor. For just $1 a month, you can donate to our show. We don't take any of the proceeds. We're donating all the money we raise for the rest of the year to prochoice.org/donate to help support women's rights within the United States. So it's a great cause. And if anyone has an extra dollar laying around, you can subscribe to our show. We will make sure it is donated to that for you. Rather than, you don't need a pack of gum, folks. You can donate $1 to us a month, and it'll be a much better use of your dollar. So, thank you to everyone that already does that. We really appreciate you. And for that, I think that's going to close us out, Kate. So we'll see everyone again next week for a regular episode of the show and talk about some great video games. So take care of yourself, and we'll see you all then.